you guys ever heard of that book called I Was a Better Mother Before I Had Kids?
Yeah.
You've heard of it.
Yeah, I read
Tongue in cheek, right? But when I saw that book, it reminded me of my life before I became a mother. See, before I had kids, I thought it was going to be really quite easy. So I had been studying to be a preschool teacher since I was 19. And then I went on to pursue a master's degree in social work, where I specialized in children and family services. And then I went on to become, I'm actually back in my old stomping ground. I was a child abuse investigator in children and family services here in Contra Costa County. And while there, I wrote parenting articles that were published. I taught parenting classes. I did my master's thesis on the effectiveness of parent education, right? So I really felt very equipped. I was very well trained, and I knew exactly what to do when my kids came along. You know where the story's going. I can see you laughing. And life was good, and I was ready to start a family, right? I thought it was going to be a walk in the park. But then, I became a mother. An awful, terrible, horrible mother. I think it was really hard. My first son was a headbanger. You guys ever heard of that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And remember that walk in the park I was talking about? Well, we couldn't actually get through the park without him banging his head against the concrete if he was frustrated. And then when my second son came along, that aggression turned into hitting and biting and kicking the baby. So I was spending a lot of time just protecting the little one. And it was really hard. And my little one, he was really strong-willed. So I did what I do best. I read every book, and I went to every parenting workshop that I could to learn how to do this job better. And I continued to feel horrible about myself. Nothing helped. I remember driving to preschool one day with my son in the back after we'd had one of our very typical dramatic mornings. And I remember just talking to him through my tears and trying to reason with him, and at the same time promise him that I still loved him even though this was not working, you know? And of course, when he saw me cry, he became more unglued because he was very sensitive to that. And so we were both a wreck, and I just had no idea what we needed. I dropped out of support groups. I dropped out of the parent participation in preschool because it became too exhausting to pretend that I had my act together. You know, how did all these other mothers who had such textbook children look like they were just going along perfectly? It was really, I just felt really alone. And it was heartbreaking to go from being so excited about motherhood and thinking that it was going to be so easy to feeling so ineffective and alone and helpless. And so I actually decided to go back to work to get a break from it all. But what did I do as a career woman? I helped other parents do it well, right? I helped other parents parent under pressure. But how's that for irony? Imagine me, like, thinking I was the worst parent in the world going back to work to be a parent coach. So what I did is I Googled parent coach, and I found the Parent Coaching Institute, and I applied for a certification because I had to go get more education. So I applied for a certification in parent coaching, and you know what? I am so glad I did. And so are my kids. And so is my husband, I think, right? So in that training program, we weren't allowed to give or take advice. Very different. We were only allowed to ask awesome questions that generated interesting answers that were unique to our families. So all that reading I had done and all those workshops that I attended were just other people's advice, not specific to my family. And what really altered anything was when I started asking myself these questions that generated interesting answers that were very unique to my situation. And so finally I got it through my thick skull that I wasn't a bad mother and I didn't have bad kids. I just really needed to be asking myself different questions. And that was sort of the first of many blind spots that I uncovered in myself. And since I already had a small practice, I started to notice these same blind spots in my clients. So we all needed to shift the questions we were asking ourselves so that we could start basing our parenting decisions on what I like to call inside information. The information that we have inside, okay? Instead of using outside information from authors and workshop leaders who don't know us. So after working with several coaches from the Parent Coaching Institute, I started asking myself these awesome questions, turning up real answers, and that made parenting much easier. And guess what? My kids started to cooperate. It was a huge change. And these were tools that they actually helped my highly sensitive son like chill out. And my very strong-willed son, he would start to talk like a little adult when he was frustrated. So now I experience a level of joy in my parenting that I really never thought was possible. And I'm not the only one. My clients turn their families around using these techniques and approaches, and they get to experience the joy of being a parent too. So it wasn't perfect at first, but my clients kept coming back for more sessions with me because they liked what I had to say. And I continued to feel incredibly good about myself as a parent. And so what I realized that it was time for me to, I started hearing myself repeating the same things over and over again. And it was just, I realized it was time to get organized and share this approach with people on a bigger level, with more than one person at a time. And so it was life-changing for me to take the best of everything that I learned and put it into an approach that I have created as customizable to your families. That means that what I'm going to teach you, you're actually going to bring your own information, and we're going to customize it for your individual family. So you won't lose your unique style. You get to celebrate your style, to leverage your style and your strengths, and just take what I give you and bring your own heart and your own authenticity to the concepts I teach today. So cookie cutter parenting just didn't work for me, and I think that this does. I just want you to know I'm not sharing this to brag. I'm just sharing it to show you that in a very short amount of time, this approach can make a big, big difference in your families. So that's why I created this program. I want to give parents everything that they need to make parenting fun and to raise children who are kind and compassionate and resilient and who stay close to you when they're older. Isn't that what all of us really, really want? So I want you to turn to someone and say, you are ready for a plan that works. Turn to somebody and tell them that. You are ready for a plan that